Welcome to part 5 of the 8 Parts of Speech lesson series. In this lesson, we are going after adjective and adverb. They're both pretty easy, pretty simple, so we're going to do them together. I love this quote from Henry James, who was a novelist and short story writer. Adjectives are the sugar of literature and adverbs the salt. It's a great way to think about what these words do to a sentence. They add color and flavor. They make things vivid. So let's review what you already know. I got a bunch of words here. Can you pick out which words are adjectives? If you need to, you can pause the video so you can have time to look. See if you can pick out all the adjectives. All right, let's look at the answers. Hilarious, upstairs, new, angry. So there were 4 adjectives. Now, how about which words are adverbs? So go ahead and pause again if you need to. Which words are adverbs? Let's look at the answers. Lazily, up, sloppily, and this one might surprise you, upstairs. So there are some words that can actually be an adjective or an adverb depending on how they're used in a sentence. If you watch the lesson on verbs, then you observe the same thing is true of some verbs. They can be a different type of verb depending on how they're used in the sentence. So you have to pay attention to what the word is actually doing within the sentence. Let's imagine for a second if we got rid of all adjectives and adverbs. We just stuck them in a machine, got rid of them. Imagine how different everything would be. It takes so much away from a story. Look at how different songs would be. So here's a familiar stanza from a song. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. But if we stripped away the adjectives and adverbs, oh, for skies, for waves of grain, for majesties above the plain. I mean, it kind of works as a minimalist poem, but really doesn't make a very pretty song, does it? It definitely wouldn't be America the Beautiful anymore. It would just be America the. Let's look at what it does to a story. So this is from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The sun rose on the same tidy front gardens and lit up the brass number 4 on the Dursleys' front door. It crept into their living room, which was almost exactly the same as it had been on the night when Mr. Dursley had seen that fateful news report about the owls. Only the photographs on the mantelpiece really showed how much time had passed. 10 years ago, there had been lots of pictures of what looked like a large pink beach ball wearing different colored bonnets. But Dudley Dursley was no longer a baby, and the photographs showed a large blond boy riding his first bicycle, on a carousel at the fair, playing on a computer game with his father, being hugged and kissed by his mother. The room held no sign at all that another boy lived in the house too. So that's the original. But let's look at what would happen if we stripped the adjectives and adverbs from this. The sun rose on the gardens and lit up the 4 on the Dursleys' door. It crept into their room, which was as it had been on the night when Mr. Dursley had seen that report about the owls. The photographs on the mantelpiece showed time had passed. There had been lots of pictures of what looked like a ball wearing bonnets, but Dudley Dursley was no longer a baby, and now the photographs showed a boy riding his bicycle, on a carousel at the fair, playing a game with his father, being hugged and kissed by his mother. The room held no sign at all that another boy lived in the house too. So It works, it gets meaning across, but you see how much is missing from the story? The original is so vivid, it paints a picture in your mind. You don't really get much of a picture in your mind when you read the second passage. That's the power of adjectives and adverbs. So adjectives and adverbs are two types of modifiers. They're words that add description and details to other words. What is the difference? So an adjective modifies a noun or a pronoun. An adverb modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb. And what I mean by that word modifies is it adds something to, gives us more information about. An adjective tells us what kind, how many, which one. An adverb tells us how, where, when, to what extent. So they both answer questions within a story. And another big thing about adverbs that you'll find very helpful is that they often, but not always, end in ly. So if you see a word ending in ly in the sentence, there's a real good chance, practically 100% chance, it's an adverb. Adjectives give us an adorable baby red panda, creamy ice cream, delicious Korean food, a perfect pristine beach, a fascinating book, luscious red strawberries. Adverbs give us dancing conspicuously, a brutally bad snap. Like, not just bad, a brutally bad snap. Singing loudly and terribly. Walking very clumsily. And you notice that all four of those examples have an ly at the end, just like I mentioned. Now, adverbs don't always have the ly at the end, but a lot of times they have an ly at the end. So let's look at adverbs and adjectives together. The two sentences we're going to look at below both give examples of adjectives with adverbs modifying them. That's one of the jobs that an adverb can do. An adverb can make an adjective even more descriptive. It can tell us to what extent an adjective is true. So I need you to spot them and try to identify which is which. Here's our first sentence. How can a baby this cute fill a diaper with something so incredibly stinky? So let's find our adjectives. Cute and stinky. Those are our adjectives. Now, where are our adverbs? This is actually functioning as an adverb in this sentence. And there's that ly, incredibly. There's also one more, so. So this is telling us about cute. It's emphasizing the word. This cute. The baby is not just a little bit cute, it's even more cute. The diaper is so incredibly stinky instead of just stinky. Here's another one. Ever since she changed shifts, Marlena has had a very hard time dealing with exhaustion. So, adjective, hard. Now, where is the adverb in this sentence? If you guessed very, you are correct. Very and really are both adverbs, and you commonly will see them modifying an adjective. She's not just having a hard time, she's having a very hard time. Let's convert a couple of adjectives into adverbs, and then we're going to convert a couple of adverbs into adjectives, because that's one of the cool things. Adjectives can turn into adverbs, adverbs can turn into adjectives, and typically all you have to do is add ly to the end of an adjective or take away the ly from an adverb. So let's look at the first one. Slow. How do we turn that into an adverb? Slowly. Slow is the adjective, slowly is the adverb. All right, what about thoughtful? How would we make that one an adverb? If you said thoughtfully, you are correct. See how easy this is? Okay, now let's turn two adverbs into adjectives. Hungrily. Now this one, you have to change the spelling a little bit more than you did on the other two, but it's the same basic principle. Hungry. And sweetly, which would become sweet. Let's do a little writing exercise with adjectives and adverbs. All right, so I've got a little passage here, just a short one, and it's kind of boring. We need some adjectives and adverbs to make this more interesting. Dale and Katie went for a walk in the woods one night. As they stepped on the leaves and twigs that lined the ground, Dale held Katie's hand. They heard a sound. Dale cast a glance at Katie, and they walked toward the sound. All right, so like I said, it's kind of boring. Your mission is to pause the video and on your own at home, throw in some adjectives and some adverbs. You can put them any place where they would logically fit. So if you see a noun and you feel like sticking an adjective before it, go right ahead. You see a verb and you want to modify it with an adverb, go right ahead. And if you add an adjective and you want to modify it further, you could give it another adjective to go with it, or you could give it an adverb. Have a little fun with this, and when you're ready, start the video again. Now, if you're confused and lost, you might want to look at my first example and then try it on your own. So let's look at how my word choices make the story feel. That was our first version of the story. Here's my second version of the story. Dale and Katie went for a moonlit walk in the tranquil, misty woods one night. As they stepped gently on the crunchy leaves and twigs that lined the ground, Dale tenderly held Katie's soft hand. Periodically, they heard a lilting, musical sound. Dale cast an intrigued glance at Katie, and they walked together toward the sound. Isn't that nice? Kind of a peaceful, happy, maybe romantic feel to it. All right, so if you didn't try the story before, you might want to go back and pause it and give it a try. Otherwise, let's go ahead and look at my second version of this story. Dale and Katie reluctantly went for a walk in the dark, musty woods one night. As they gingerly stepped on the slimy leaves and thorny twigs that lined the ground, Dale warily held Katie's hand. Suddenly, they heard a piercing, agonized sound. Dale cast a worried glance at Katie, and they cautiously walked toward the dreadful sound. Well, that's a totally different tone, isn't it? Totally different story. And if I were them, I would not be walking toward that sound. I have a feeling only one of them's coming back. Let's do a second one. All right. So here's our little passage. Our family sat down around the Christmas tree. My Aunt Edith got up and walked to the tree. She reached down and picked up a box that I noticed had a few holes in the top. She handed me the box, grinning. I opened the box and saw a kitten inside. All right. So if you're going to try this at home, go ahead and pause it, edit the story, give it any kind of spin that you want. And when you're ready, you can see what I did with it. All right, let's look at my first version. Our family merrily sat down together around the brightly lit Christmas tree. My sweet Aunt Edith got up and slowly walked to the tree. She reached down and carefully picked up a cheery red box that I noticed had a few small holes in the top. She gently handed me the box, grinning expectantly. I eagerly opened the box and saw an adorable fluffy kitten inside. Aw, isn't that a nice story? Let's try another one. Our family sat down exhaustedly around the meager, balding Christmas tree. My crazy Aunt Edith got up and drunkenly walked to the tree. She reached down clumsily and picked up a tattered, stained box that I noticed had a few jagged holes in the top. She handed me the box, grinning maniacally. I gingerly opened the box and saw a mangy, flea-bitten, half-dead kitten inside. Yeah, a very, very different tone. Not such a happy story this time. But you see, adjectives and adverbs have the power to completely change a story. I encourage you to continue practicing with altering passages by adding adjectives and adverbs. It's a really good way to build your writing power. Think about what combination of words gives a particular feel. The more you do that, the stronger you'll get at writing. And if you're planning to go on to college after your GED, you really want to build up your writing skills. They're going to come in handy. Let's finish up with some review. So, I'm going to give you a sentence with a highlighted word. I want you to identify whether the highlighted word is an adjective or an adverb. The tiny puppy wriggled closer to her sleeping siblings. Adjective or adverb? It's modifying a noun, so it's an adjective. Marley finds the rainy weather depressing. It's modifying the word weather, which is a noun, so another adjective. Juliet hurriedly rushed to seal the door. It is modifying the word rushed, which is a verb, therefore it is an adverb. Ricardo staggered blindly into the emergency room. Blindly is telling us how. It's modifying the verb staggered, so it's another adverb. And our last one, Forrest is not very smart, but he has unbelievable luck. And that is modifying an adjective, so it's an adverb. Now, I'd like to finish by giving you a little writing tip. If you're using really or very with an adjective, what you really need is a stronger adjective. Sometimes it's okay, but try not to lean too heavily on really or very. A lot of times, a stronger adjective will get your idea across better. And with that bit of advice, we end our lesson on adjectives and adverbs. Come back next time for part 6 of the 8 parts of speech.